What's going on, everyone? Welcome to episode number 69 here on the Proven Knowledge Podcast. This is the Creators Series. Today I welcomed a singer-songwriter. She's originally from New Jersey, but she's currently in Philadelphia. Her name is Simone, and I got connected with her, I believe, at the top of this year. Maybe it was the end of last year. Simone has a couple songs out that are her first songs as a solo artist. Feel On and Black King. We discussed the recording of Black King, specifically the live version, which she did a video for. She talked about the process of that and kind of what struggles she faced doing that and how that first experience of doing a video for a live song kind of went for her. She discussed leaving her former band that she started with many years back and kind of what the journey has been like so far, breaking off into being a solo artist. But overall, I just appreciate Simone's real honest nature. And, every time we've talked, whether it was just through text or emails or whatever, she's always had a real genuine attitude toward, working together and whatnot. And hopefully, we can get to work together one day, when the timing is right. But I can tell that she already has, many big plans in store. There's some music coming out, hopefully, she said, by the end of the year. So yeah, I just enjoyed this episode. Really genuine artist and someone who you guys should definitely go check out after this episode. So without further ado, let's get into it. Welcome everyone to episode number 69 here on the Proven Knowledge Podcast. This is the Creators Series. Today we have another incredible singer-songwriter. I think I discovered her music probably toward the end of 2020. Her name is Simone. How are you?
I'm good. Hi, everyone. Hey.
I'm glad to get you on the show today, and I feel like we probably got connected in maybe the beginning of the year, like first month of the year, maybe December, somewhere around there.
Yeah.
And I know you got a couple
That's when
songs
I was getting
out.
busy. Yeah.
Yeah, I know you got a couple songs out already, and I'm kind of interested to get to know a little bit more about you and have you share, some of your stories. So to start every episode out, we have the guest just give a little bit of background as far as how you got into music, how long you've been doing it, all the real basic information for those that might not know you and what you do.
Absolutely. My name is Simone. I am a Jersey girl, and I'm actually a lot older than some people think. I just turned 31 in July. And right when you found me, I was just getting started. At the end of 2020, I had just started the journey at the very beginning of the year. So I was coming up on a year of writing and releasing music when you found me, when you and I got connected. Mm-hmm. And singing is not like my first profession. Right now, I'm a social worker. I work with kids. And I like the kids, but not so much the job. Mm-hmm. And so I think I was just in a place of just really wanting something different for myself. Not necessarily not feeling proud of myself, but just feeling like there were different accomplishments that I wanted to make, with my life and just be kind of proud of what I was doing. And, I just wasn't in like the best of spaces. Work was like really stressful, and I was leaving like a very long relationship. And, I decided that I was going to grab a hold of my destiny, my future, my path, and do something very different for myself. And so I had always been a singer ever since I was a little kid. And so, singing was it for me. So I went right back to it, and here I am.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think I read somewhere, too, that you're in a band. Is that correct? Are you also in a band?
I started with a band. Oh, okay. So when I first got started, I wasn't really into studio recordings yet. It's something that I wanted to do, but I was definitely very interested in live music. I wanted to go out and perform, improve my stage presence. So I put together this band. Their name is Suede Lace. But I think after realized there were just some things, right, that I just didn't know. I was getting my feet wet, and I really needed a bit more direction. And so the band started to grow, and we just had opposing ideas or wishes about where we would like to take things. Mm-hmm. and it's all love. I still work with them, so you probably still see them lingering around. It's just now that I'm separate from them, I think I like being in this space better, of being able to network and work with different musicians,
Mm.
because everyone's got a different style, and so you've probably seen like some of my songs have a live version to them, and it's with a completely different band that was able to give me a very different style than what I was accustomed to playing with the other band. So I started with the band, and we're also good friends. They actually like perform with me every Wednesday at a residency I have at this lounge in Philly that I do. So that's how I got started. So many things have changed in the last like year and a half. Yeah.
Mm. Yeah, that's super awesome though that you guys are all still kind of close and everything. And but you got to get something new going. It's always good to start something fresh. And I can tell that just from the first two songs, like you already have some good footing going. Like because they're very well done, both of them. So
Thanks.
yeah, I can already tell
Thank you.
you got something great going. So I'm interested to know, since you broke off to doing solo work, what is the songwriting process for you look like most of the time? Because I don't know how many other songs you have in the works. Has there been any challenges as far as like figuring out your style as an artist and trying to just figure out your sound, or how has it gone so far?
I mean, I think some people might think that I haven't figured out my sound, and I don't know if I know how to answer that either. I guess it's all still very new to me, so I'm just trying out different things.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just writing what comes to mind. People are sending me beats that I like, and I just write what I think flows with that. But I guess I am in a space of, I don't know, I guess trying to figure out who I am, how I want to present myself to people. The
Mm-hmm.
songwriting process isn't so much difficult as, I guess, thinking about what my image is going to be. I guess I haven't really thought about it being one thing.
Mm. Yeah, I was just kind of curious because I know for especially newer artists, or like you just said, you've been doing music for a long time, but this for you is kind of a new journey. So I was just kind of curious as far as like how it's been going through the first few songs and everything. How many
I mean,
songs?
it's been fun.
Yeah.
I mean, I like the people
Mm.
I work with. I was trying to do a live version for the last, for my first single, Black King. And, I guess it all kind of worked out in my favor that I stopped working with the first band, because, I tried to get it done the first time around, and it just was not like, it was just a mess.
Mm-hmm.
So my now boyfriend, who plays bass, you know, he also is very talented in many other ways, just kind of came along and helped me patch it together
Mm.
and make it much better than what it would have been.
Yeah.
So, I'm just learning. There's a lot of things that I don't know. I'm always open to soaking up something new, trying something different new. Um, it's been fun. I mean, my challenges have been more performing in person than I feel like writing the music, even though I'm trying to get a good rhythm and be disciplined to juggle work, life, my mom,
Mm.
doing my music. But, everything is still in the space of me figuring it out.
Mm-hmm. So you just mentioned the live version of Black King, and I saw the video and everything, and I was like, wow, this is very well crafted, well thought out. So how was that
Thank
kind
you.
of just bringing that to life? Because I could tell you had a distinct vision for what you were trying to do there.
That was definitely it was definitely a learning experience. So at the time it was more frustrating, and now that I look back at it, it's not such a bad thing. I mean, like I said, because my boyfriend is very talented, I mean, he was just kind of able to open my eyes to things that I really wasn't thinking about.
Mm-hmm.
you know, Really just musicians and their abilities, and things that I should have asked, things that I should have secured and communicated before I had booked a space and said, I want to do this live version of my song. There was a lot of things, a lot of, I's I didn't dot, T's I didn't cross.
Mm-hmm.
But, moving forward, now I know how to, tackle things. That was just, it was a bit stressful. We went to this studio that, they kind of tried to get over on me as far as, like not setting up the sound the right way. And so my boyfriend and his friends, they come in, they have a production company, they have a studio, and they were just like, this isn't right.
Mm-hmm.
And so they did, record what we did at the studio for them, but a lot of things needed to be redone because the audio was kind of crappy.
Mm-hmm.
And so
Yeah.
That's just it.
Yeah, well, I can just tell it came out pretty great. So at least you had that going because
Yeah,
I
it
didn't know
was
obviously the whole story
definitely.
behind it, but I feel like you got to do like a tiny desk eventually, like the NPR tiny desks.
Oh,
Like
absolutely. I would love to. I would love to.
yeah, because that's kind of what it reminded me of, just like the atmosphere and everything, and just the way it was set up. And I think you released it on iTunes as well, right? Like on streaming and everything, like the audio. So I thought that was a really cool part to do. Um, so I'm kind of curious for you because I can tell your music is very soulful, has a lot of heart in it. Who for you growing up were some of your major influences or people that you've listened to, maybe that you're still listening to today, that kind of made you want to do, be a singer?
Um, 90s Mariah. Anybody who's like close to me knows that she's my favorite. I love Lauryn Hill,
Mm.
Monica. I'm a big Christina Aguilera fan. Toni Braxton. Some people think that I sound like her, but I don't think so. But I love her. But those are like my faves, my absolute faves. But 90s Mariah is probably the person I listened to the absolute most. I ran all of her albums like into the ground. I'm sure my parents were so sick of hearing. But I'm a very, very big Mariah Carey fan, even though her voice has changed and some people have different opinions about her now. But her in her prime is definitely like my idol.
Mm-hmm. Who for you is like a dream collaboration? Like someone you ever want to do a song with or maybe a project with? Like, have you ever thought about that?
I have. I would love to work with her.
She's
I
very
would love
talented.
to work with her. I love her also.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't grow up listening to her, but she's someone I've been following her work back when she was going under her actual name, Gabby Wilson, before she released her first EP under the name her. I was following her then, and I mean, if Frank Ocean ever comes back around, I would love to work with him too. I admire both of their music, always thinking like outside of the box, bending, the limits of whatever genre they're singing. I just love them
Yeah.
very much. I like them both. Their style of writing. Yeah,
Yeah.
those would be my dream collabs.
Frank's back on his 5 year hiatus again, so I don't
I
know.
know, life.
Yeah.
What can I say? Life.
Yeah.
So
I think he will come back eventually. I just don't. I just think he's one of those artists that he's kind of like Kendrick too in that way, where he'll just come back when he comes back and he takes his time.
yeah,
But
as he should.
yeah,
We miss him and his work. It doesn't get old. It's
mm-hmm.
kind of that timeless kind of
Timeless
work. You
music.
know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So it's okay. Like I'll still go back and listen to, his EPs or Channel Orange.
Mm-hmm.
That was my favorite album. With no problem, and it will never sound or feel old to me. Same thing with her.
Mm-hmm. I found out like a few months ago that me and her were born on the same day. Not just the same.
You're a Cancer?
Yeah, not just the same.
Hey.
Not just the same day, but the same year and everything, like the same exact day. And I was like, wow, that's incredible.
Look at that. That's so cool. Happy belated birthday, my fellow Cancer. I'm a Cancer also.
Thank you. Yeah, because I saw like people posting about her birthday on that day, and I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. I wonder what year, and it was 97. It was the same year. I was like, wow, that's crazy. Because I've known people that like share my birthday, but it's not in the same year. It's like a different year. But
that's crazy.
Yeah. So hopefully one day I can like work with her or something, because that would be a crazy story, honestly. But
yeah, that would be wonderful. It'll come.
Yeah, hopefully one day, no doubt. So you mentioned, that you've been in and out of studios before and things like that recently.
Mm-hmm.
So do you feel more comfortable now recording in studios, or have you ever done things from home? Like, is it strictly one or the other, or can you do both, you think?
No, I don't mind doing either. Recording in the studio was never uncomfortable. That live version, it wasn't that it was uncomfortable. It was just that I just didn't know that there was a certain way that things needed to be recorded, so that the song could be mixed and mastered properly, So I was a little bit of a fish out of water there, but I love recording in the studio. It just wasn't my first ambition when I went back to singing. I envisioned myself being a singer who traveled around the tri-state areas where I'm at, Philadelphia, Southern New Jersey, Delaware is the area where I live. But studio recording is always fun to me. And I did my first two singles. So the Black King studio version, Feel On, was done in one studio. And then the Black King live obviously was recorded initially at one place where the live version was. But then my boyfriend and his friends, they're called Marshall Road Productions there in West Philly. They're the ones where, who took on the recording from there. We had to redo some things. Some things were okay, and they did the mixing and mastering of it there, and I had to redo my vocals there. And so that was fine. But I had been in like the space of singing hooks for like rappers, collabing with other people. I had been wanting to do that anyway for people, and I kind of like dabbled in that like in college, like in the earlier mid 2000s. So I wasn't completely a stranger to it, but I also didn't know that I could write music then. I don't think I really gave myself a chance. So I was really relying on people to write the hook that I sang to them, and I literally was just the vocals. So it wasn't like you got a piece of Simone in a sense, like you got my voice, but nothing that really came from me. So I like recording everywhere, to be honest. It's always a different vibe. People are different. I mean, I like people. I like different people, and so sometimes I'm in a studio where it's all rappers, or I'm in a studio where it's everyone singing R&B soul. Sometimes I'm in a studio where people are not doing any of that, and it's a lot of pop and it's a lot of rock going on. So I don't like discriminate. I haven't set up much equipment to do from home. I've done like a little bit, like some backgrounds and ad libs and stuff, but my producer friend would have like come and set me up. So that's just like something that I am in the process of like creating like a home studio for myself.
So in the past year, obviously, a lot of people have dealt with a lot of different things through the pandemic and whatnot. So for you, you were launching your solo career during this time. So was there anything that was a major hurdle for you to try and get over, or maybe a challenge that you were presented with, or maybe something that's happening now that you're being presented with that's kind of been an obstacle?
I would say being able to go out and perform in person, probably.
Yep.
I had a lot of virtual performances in 2020. And that was fine, but it's very different than being in front of people. And I was brand new. So I had, gotten accustomed to the virtual way of things. And so when things opened back up, I'm just like, all right, here I am, in a new place. It was not the same as like the virtual stuff. The virtual stuff, I done like a few performances at like a friend's studio just to like, have a different visual appeal. But a lot of the times I was doing them from the comfort of my home. The band was still with me, so they were there. So I was in a very comfortable space, So I think the pandemic brought the challenge of not putting me in challenging situations, And so I really needed that. And I didn't get that until, things opened up. And then, the second time around, New Jersey was just like, we're not shutting down anything. So things were open here, even though they were like shut down in Philadelphia. And that's really where like the big music scene is here for me, is Philadelphia. So I was able to do like, some things in New Jersey, but I really didn't get that challenge and that push until Philly opened up. And I'm like, I'm here in front of people now.
Yeah.
So that was really the challenge of the pandemic, but still good challenges.
Yeah. So how many shows have you done then, like live shows so far? Any?
I've been doing a mix of things. So like I started a residency. So I have a show every Wednesday at a jazz lounge in West Philadelphia. Before then, I've done quite a few things. I've done a few private parties, weddings, funerals. Unfortunately, because of COVID, funerals became a very big thing, a really big recurring thing for me. There's been a lot of like, they're like open mics in a sense, but they kind of like control who the line of performances are going to be done by. And so I did a lot of those things in Philly again. I've done a few like soul cafes, like cafes and things like that. It's been a lot. I don't even know that I had even thought to like count. And these residencies, these like continual shows, I'm actually working on picking up 2 other ones in nearby locations to where I'm at now. So, I mean, over the last year, I'm probably looking at like 20, maybe around that, somewhere like that. Like, I've been very aggressive with forcing myself into this space of performing in front of people. Only because, I don't know, I'm shy, kind of. I guess it's just new. Like, I never want to mess up. I'm a little bit of a perfectionist. And so sometimes that would kind of mess with my head. And like, I had a performance like that was not so great one time. And then I took like a hiatus. And I just didn't go anywhere for like 4 months. And I was like, my boyfriend was just like, like, you need to like shake this off. Like, everyone messes up. And so I literally have had to force myself to like get out there. And the more I do it, the more I fall in love with it. And so it's like, the more I've been doing it, someone for the crowd, they take a business card, and here I know I've got another gig, now another gig. So that's kind of, they've just honestly like been falling in my lap. I've been blessed to not have to really like search for things. Like, I picked up 2 gigs for my first show at this place where I'm doing every Wednesday. I've got, a gig tomorrow, and then I've got one on Friday, and I've got one on Sunday, and so they're just, and it's been good. Like, it's good practice. I don't want things to shut down again, but in the event that they do, I'm glad to have already, started working in that way. But that's kind of it.
Yeah. I think it's good too, like you mentioned. I think you have to get out of your comfort zone in that sense, because it's like, if you want to be an artist and you want to perform, it's like, I think the more you do it, you just get the hang of it, you know what I mean? And you'll have your nights where it's not going to go your way 100% and things will happen, but it's like, just like anything else, you do it more and more, and you'll just get the hang of it and get more comfortable. So,
yeah. Especially because Philly is not always like the easiest crowd. I find that like my inner city crowd, like, you got to be on your shit to move with them, Like, I mean, it's a city with so much talent, so many artists, so many singers. You know what I'm saying? And so I can't like be getting up on stage all scared to sing, and knowing that I can sing. And so that's also been like a blessing in disguise. Some people who aren't from the area might not like that, but for me, it's like, if you can move a crowd from Philly, like, you can move any crowd, But I mean, I have been really finding my place in Philly. Like, I've been finding my place here, and it took me a while to realize, like, people are really going to like fuck with you if you fuck with you. You know what I'm saying? And so I've had to really put that on display, my confidence and what I really love most about what I'm doing. And everyone's reaction has just kind of followed. So it's been a good thing.
What do you think has been something about the music business in the last year that you've learned that maybe you didn't know before, and you kind of just learned since you've been, starting your journey as a solo artist? Is there anything that kind of was like, wow, I didn't know this, and now that I know it, I need to continue to put it into motion and practice and make sure that every time it happens, I'm on my P's and Q's, I guess?
Absolutely. It's been I think it's more about learning to separate your emotions from the business. And I think I just like kind of knew that maybe in the back of my mind, or had an idea of it, but it wasn't until I was put in situations to work with people whose personalities maybe rubbed me the wrong way. And, I would watch other people who I knew did not personally get along still do business together and do successful things together. And it's a very hard, like, that's a hard thing for some people to master, in the real, in our regular lives. You don't like someone, stay away from them, but in the music business, what I've learned is that there are a lot of people who don't personally like each other, but for the sake of creating a hit record, for the sake of creating a good show, for the sake of business, for making money, they will continue to work with each other, and you have no idea, hate each other. They're on stage, and we think it's like this great vibe. We think it's this great relationship. You'd be surprised, like, how many times, like, I've seen that, and it's blown my mind. And so there have been, this is a journey for me. So there have been other, a lot of people sometimes can be really egotistical. A lot of people can be really big-headed about themselves, and I'm really not that kind of person, and I prefer to kind of just stay away from that. No
Mm.
shade, but that's just not me, and that's just not how I move. But I've learned that some of those people still bring value to the table in other ways. You just learn how to respond to different people differently. It's
Mm.
a lot of personalities, a lot of egos in the music industry, and I think you might know that, but you don't really like know it until you're encountered
Mm.
with it, until I'm, forced, not forced to, but, I'm put in a position where it would benefit me to work with you, even though you rub me the wrong way,
Mm.
and so that's just been, that's just something that I've had to learn to master about myself, mastering my emotions, understanding when to separate them from business. And, that I had my first taste of that with my band, understanding that it's not just about me. This is a group of different people, different personalities, different perspectives of things, different ways that everyone wants to handle or go about things. And ultimately, I left for both a business and a personal decision. And it took a while for me to mend some of those relationships initially after I left, because it wasn't the best of breakups. It wasn't the worst. It definitely wasn't like terrible, but I kind of had wanted to wash my hands of the situation initially.
Mm.
And I had to learn and realize that that's not always the right answer to things. Everyone likes, toxic, no bad energy, but things are much more gray in the world than we'd like to admit. Things aren't as black and white. And so, I had to learn a bit about myself and ways that I could improve the way I'm communicating, the way I'm addressing my needs or my feelings or my vision, and understanding that not everyone's going to go with that, but it doesn't have to be like a fuck you kind of
Mm.
situation. I just made a decision then to find other people to work with, because
Mm.
they're there. And so I got, live, the live version of Black King was a completely different band, and so we did, mend our relationships in the interim, and it's definitely just taught me a bit about myself, and how I can move forward and do things and kind of prevent, certain hiccups or confrontation that, doesn't need to be.
Mm. I've always felt that, especially in the last few years since I've been getting into music more and more, and especially paying attention to the business side, it's like the hardest part is that music is something that we pour all of our emotions into, right? Because you have to, as an artist, to have good music.
Absolutely.
Then you're trying to combine that with business, which really, in the context of things, has no emotion, right? So you're taking two
Right.
polar opposites and having to combine them, and that's the hardest part of the whole thing. And you're always
Oh,
torn.
absolutely.
You're always torn between both sides. It's like, should I focus more on the art or the business? Like, how do I find a balance between both? How do I not step on
Absolutely.
toes of people? It's like that's one of the main reasons I think a lot of people like have issues with it, because it's like you don't want to lose friends, you don't want to lose connections and things like that, but you also want to make sure that you're okay and your situation's where
Absolutely.
it needs to be. So it's like I guess we just have to do the best we can, and like you said, focus on every situation as it comes and just do what's best for you. Hopefully don't burn any bridges, but just do your best. You know what I mean? That would be my advice
Right.
to anyone. I think is
No,
just yeah.
absolutely. I
So
mean, like I said, I think musicians and artists as a whole, like, we tend to be more emotional people, obviously,
mm,
right? Because what we're pursuing, like you said, is a piece of ourselves. It's, an expression of us, what we're feeling on the inside or how we see things. And so I've also seen, just as many times as people might have conflict, I've seen a lot of peace. I've seen a lot of forgiveness. I've seen just a lot of people being in their feelings, in the moment, and I've learned that also about a lot of musicians and singers too, that they are also some of the most forgiving people and understanding people that I have met, and so I suppose that maybe it is a culture of everyone maybe being in their feelings or their emotions, right? Because it's hard to always separate the emotion and the business. And so it seems that, I've met a lot of people who are understanding, well, this person was just in their feelings, in the
mm,
moment, and it's over now and we got it out, and it's fine. And, we can move forward. And so, I always just say, just try to use your moral compass,
mm,
do what's best for yourself, but also try to be considerate and make sure that what you're doing is the right thing,
mm,
you know,
yeah.
and that is, kind of, you know, been what I've been, using, and it's been fine for me. I mean, I've made a lot of friends. I don't really have any enemies. I don't have any enemies. Not really. Not in life, but especially not with music. Like, I'm not cliquey. It's been really cool to meet a bunch of new people and learn from them. So it's been good for me so far.
Well, I'm glad to hear that, and just keep doing what you're doing, because I can tell like even through our conversations, I feel like you've always been genuine, and like you just come off with you're very polite,
Oh, thank
and
you.
every time we talk about like beats and stuff like that, you approach it very professional. So I appreciate that
Thank you.
for sure. So
Absolutely.
yeah.
Thank you.
So I only got a few more questions for you here, and then we can wrap this up. But I want to know, for your music, how you put it out, is there anything you want to leave fans with? Like when they hear a song by Simone, is there something that you would want a fan to walk away with, no matter what song it was?
Absolutely. I mean, I want people to know exactly what I'm thinking, how I'm feeling. Um, you know, I like to do things not necessarily in extremes, but maybe with extreme passion, and so I don't ever want to be somewhere in this gray area of maybe, I want it to be like very clear that this is what the message is of this song. This is what she was thinking. This is what she was feeling when she was writing the song. And so I released Black King as, kind of a statement, my stance on not just like Black Lives Matter, but just about how I feel about, my people. I wrote Feel On. It's a sexy song, but I also wrote it intentionally with some very playful lyrics, and people saw a very different side of me in that song. And so I like to kind of really like dive into it head first. Whatever the theme or the emotion is behind the song, you're going to get it full force. So it was very sexy. I Can't Get Fired. It's definitely not like porno quality, but people got what I was going for when when I did it. I did it in a tasteful way, I feel like, but you know, that's just me. People who know me personally know that I'm not really a person to bite their tongue. You're gonna get what you get. I'm gonna always be polite and say it with love, but I'm gonna give it to you real, and you're gonna know how I'm feeling. And that's kind of how I write my music. And so I've got some other things coming out that are very different than the first two that you heard. It's definitely my while I'm finding myself right to I'm giving everyone different sides of myself, because I find it hard to kind of just put one label on me or what I want to do or my music. I feel like I dabble in a lot of things, genres, ideas, perspectives, and I think a pretty well-rounded and open kind of person. So that's probably been a challenge with me defining myself, because I don't feel like I fit into one definition or description like most people shouldn't or don't. So you have to stay tuned.
Yeah. Well, I already know you got a ton of music coming out. Do you know, like, do you have a specific date for like the next song or EP, or do you have anything kind of in stone?
I do.
Okay. What can you reveal
I do,
to
actually. So it's August now. It is my goal to release. It's actually not an EP, and it's actually not just a single. It's actually like a prequel and a sequel. I'm doing something a little different, like a two-part release, because the video, the visual that I'm going to have for both singles is going to be, a continuation of the first. And so the first single and release and video sets the tone for the second. And I was like, I'm trying to build my fan base, and I've been reading a lot about the algorithms of each music platform, Spotify, Apple, YouTube. Everyone has something a little different, but consistently what they all have been saying is that we are in the era of singles, and listeners are impatient. They don't always listen to a full catalog unless you have a huge fan base. And there's always that exception, right, where you can release something exceptional and people really want to dive into it, but they find that a lot of studies are showing that new artists building their fan base are putting out, lumps of music at a time, and only a few are getting the recognition that they really deserve, and the other ones are collecting dust. Not because they're not good, but because it's too much at once, and people are impatient. They've been suggesting shorter songs, repetitive songs, Not saying that listeners are getting dumb, but I think I think what people are wanting, right? Music is always in a state of changing, and this is just where we're at in the world right now. So I haven't, and I am going to like experiment with an EP. Like I'm thinking summer of next year because I already have an idea for what I want that to look like, and I had already started to gather like some beats and things like that for that. But I have 3 solid songs that I'm going to be releasing before the end of the year. So they're going to be 2 songs in the fall and a song in the winter, unless there's something else that I come out with on top of that. But that's just kind of what I've been doing. So it's going to be like a 2-part release. You should look for that towards the end of September.
Awesome.
You know, so set the tone, fall, back to school. You know, definitely giving you a bit more R&B. Some of the beats, people are like, it has like a trap kind of beat to it. And some people are calling it like trap and B, trap soul. It's like a Bryson Tiller mix kind of thing. I feel like they feel like I'm giving. So the lyrics are a bit more spicy. You know, they're a bit more spicy, a little bit more in your face. But, you know, I think you guys will like it.
Nice. Well, I'll have to get those in rotation on my playlist for sure. So I'll get them in there, no doubt. So if you could go back 10 years ago, maybe give yourself a piece of advice or maybe not change anything at all, what do you think you would do?
I'll tell myself to do it. Do it. Stop thinking about it. Stop dreaming about it. And I would really shake myself, to be honest. Like, come on. Like, there's so many ideas that you've just got bottled up inside. Like, tomorrow is not promised. 10 years ago, I didn't see the pandemic happening. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, anyway, I think we all think that we have this unlimited amount of time, right? People like to say, time is not promised. Yeah, but people, we realize to fail the potential in the moment, in your day today, what you're doing today that could change your tomorrow. And I didn't say, well, I'm going to wait until next week to go back to singing. No, I just dove right into it. And I think that has just definitely been like something I've been even just kind of like preaching to myself about. Like, there's so much power and potential in your moment right now. You know, like I mean, you need to plan for certain things, obviously, yes. But when it comes to trying something new or to putting a new idea out there or, you know, giving life to something, do it. Like, do it. And, like, don't put limits on your dreams. You know, I'm just getting started. And I feel like because I've been aggressive with tackling what I want is why I have so many opportunities. Not saying that I'm not talented or I don't have skill, but it's more because of my ambition to get things done. And it's more about me putting myself out there, my ideas, you know, my abilities to go perform. You know, and I'm looking, I'm like, I haven't even been doing this for 2 years. And, you know, my opportunities have, you know, continued to just, you know, like I've said, fall in my lap. And so that would be my advice to myself 10 years ago, and my advice to anyone listening, and my advice to myself still. Your wildest, craziest ideas, make them. The most iconic artists that we know didn't play it safe. You know, the things that we remember aren't safe. And so I don't want to be safe. I want, you know, to leave a legacy that people can remember. You know, you put on a Michael Jackson song that hasn't been recorded since the 70s and it still feels like it's brand new. You know, those ideas weren't safe. So that's just kind of like my advice to myself, yeah.
So let's flip it then. 10 years from now, where do you think you envision yourself in your life and your career?
10 years from now, I'm hoping to have already going back to school to study voice. So I have other degrees, but I've been thinking about when I'm older and I'm maybe not physically able to sing the way I'm singing now or perform the way I'm performing now. Hopefully not, you know, 10 years from now. Hopefully I can still do that stuff. But as far as like the long term, in 10 years, I would have already liked to have a degree studying voice so that I could then move myself into the space of teaching voice lessons. You know, I just been, you know, security is also a big thing for me too. Like, I want to make sure I can make money for a long time, you know, because this, my voice, my looks, what I'm doing, it's not going to last forever, you know, so I want to capitalize on it while I can, but invest in my future in a way that I can still, you know, do the things that I love, even if it's not singing directly. So might be teaching. My boyfriend and I had talked about, him opening up a studio, and he's usually, on the road touring. He plays the bass, and, me kind of running it, and us, finding a partnership, that way. So those are definitely going to be like some of the things that I'm going to be interested in doing. I mean, of course, I would love to get to a place where I'm also touring. I would love to make that happen before 10 years. So hopefully by 10 years, I'll already have my feet wet with what it means to really have like a real tour experience. I would like to, independently have a solid label, even if it's just myself as an artist, but to really just have a much better business sense of all that's out there that you can generate a profit on, because it's not like you and I both know, it's not just singing on a record. That's really not where most of the money is, and so maybe I'm writing for other people, maybe I'm ghostwriting. I wouldn't mind that either. I won't tell, so I've just been, 10 years from now, it is my goal to have my name on something that I own, something that I'm growing, whether that be like a studio or a vocal program, maybe I'm writing and I have clients that I'm writing for, so I have been thinking about like multiple things that I really would like to have for myself in the long run.
Mm-hmm. Do you have any final words of wisdom today for the listeners?
Yes, my friends, you deserve to have it all. That is my words for you today. You deserve to have it all. Do not rob yourself of that opportunity, because you don't want to live with what ifs. Yeah, you don't want to live with a what if. That's actually kind of miserable when I think about that. If you know you can do something, go and do it. Go and do it. And not everyone's going to agree, or not everyone's going to like it at first, and you might get a lot of criticism and backlash. Oh well. You might get some criticism and backlash for not doing anything. So you can't really escape it. So go and do it. And I tell this to myself all the time when I'm presented with something new that's out of my comfort zone, or I feel like I'm not adequate or talented enough. I still get those same doubts that some people have too. Go and do it anyway. Just do it. Go and do it and try it. You deserve to have everything in this world that you want. You can have it all. It's a misconception when people say you can't. No, that's a lie. You can absolutely have everything that you want if you're willing to go the lengths to get it. So do it. That's my word for today.
Well, Simone, that's all I have for you today. Thank you very much for your time today.
Thank you so much. Absolutely.
Yeah, I had a great time, great conversation. I wish you luck on all the music you have coming out soon. Everything you got planned for the future, because it sounds like you have a lot of great stuff planned, and I'm sure you're gonna you're gonna accomplish all of it for sure, no doubt.
I appreciate it, and so are you. Thank you so much. I appreciate you for having me.
Thank you guys for listening today. That was episode number 69. We'll be back this time next week. As always, hit the support button on your podcast streaming platform if you want to send any funds, and feel free to leave us that 5-star rating if you enjoyed today's episode. So we'll see you then. Thanks, guys.